This video is sponsored by Her Interactive. Save 35% off the Nancy Drew games with promo code JUNE2021.
Hi-ho, everybody! I thought for Father's Day this year I would make a video ranking all the various dads in the Nancy Drew video game series, starting with Ezra Wickford from Treasure in the Royal Tower. So Ezra is the man who originally built the castle, and he invented chocolate milk. Who doesn't want a dad with unlimited chocolate milk? So he loves his adopted son, Dexter. While Nancy's investigating the castle, she finds this secret memory room for Dexter. And I think that's kind of cool that Ezra set up a little puzzle for his son to solve after he died. It's a memory room where it shows off all the various memories he has of his son, both the good and the bad. But it's mostly good. We have this loving poem about how much he'll always love Dexter, even if Dexter made mistakes. And I think that's a really sweet message to leave for your family after you've passed on. So I would rate Ezra as a good dad. Next, Joe Akers. Now, we didn't really meet him in Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, but we did get to read his diary, the diary where he kept notes about looking for the treasure. And I was always touched by the ending of that diary where he says, you know, I may not have gold or treasure, but I have my wife, I have my son, my family is treasure enough. That's such a sweet line, and it always gets to me, so I would say Joe is a good dad. He's a good dad. And similarly with Daryl Trent from the Haunted Carousel. So he built Miles the Magnificent Memory Machine, which is just amazing. And he did that so his daughter would be happy. And sort of like Ezra Wickford, he built like this hidden puzzle room inside the park for her to find. And he's got all sorts of clues about the past to unlock her memories of the good times they had as kids. And, you know, it couldn't have been bad growing up as Daryl's daughter, because, you know, he owned an amusement park. You could ride all the rides whenever you want. Sounds like she got to get a free Sunday every weekend. That sounds pretty good too. So it must have been a happy childhood before the accident where Joy's mother died. And I'm glad that Daryl still trying his hardest to make things better for Joy and make her life better, even though she's all grown up at this point. So Daryl Trent, good dad. Hugh Pennvalen from the Curse of Blackmoor Manor. Ooh, I'm not so sure about this guy. Now, we do talk to him on the phone. He seems like a nice enough person, and he cares about his family, but it's also a terrible situation he's in, because he's a diplomat, he has to be out of the country, and he just got married, and his new wife doesn't get along with his child. Yeah, I mean, he seems concerned. His heart's in the right place, but on the other hand, you feel like it's kind of his fault, like he didn't do enough marriage preparation, or he didn't talk enough with his daughter before getting married, because that's led to major problems. And Jane is definitely isolated. She has no friends, so he's not helping her get any friends. She likes playing games, but he doesn't get her any games or anything to amuse herself. He basically, you know, leaves her trapped in the manor with Mrs. Drake and Ethel for company. I don't want to say he's abandoned his daughter, but it definitely sounds like he needs to take more interest in his daughter and taking care of her and raising her the right way instead of expecting other people to do it. The good news is that the end of the game indicates that's the direction he's going to go in. He gets a wake-up call and realizes he needs to be more personally invested in his child's life. So hopefully that means he'll be a much better dad from here on out, but as it is in the game, he's not really a very good dad, so closer to a bad dad, I would say. He's just an absentee parent. Carson Drew from Secret of the Old Clock. You could argue that Nancy's dad is also an absentee parent. He's not in any of the games except as a phone contact. But I really like Carson. I thought Carson is a great guy, especially in Secret of the Old Clock. I mean, I like the way he is in these, like, old Nancy Drew books where he's concerned for Nancy. He realizes she's in a dangerous situation, and he tells her, sounds like you'd be well advised to cut your visit short. But that's it. He just stops there because he trusts her and knows she can take care of herself. So he doesn't insist on her coming home because it's too dangerous. No, he gives her a warning and then lets her continue doing whatever she wants, and he helps her whenever she needs help. So that's good. That's in Secret of the Old Clock. He comes back in Albi and Ashes, where he's also a great dad. He's trying to save her and get her out of jail as soon as possible. That's good. He helps her out whenever he can. And again, he trusts her to take care of things on her own. Because she's a very independent daughter. It feels like Nancy Drew would be a pretty good daughter to have. You wouldn't have to do a lot of intensive parenting. She could pretty much take care of anything on her own. And in The Silent Spy is probably where Carson Drew is the meanest, because he's kind of angry and upset because, well, he's trying to protect her, but she convinces him, hey, Dad, I'm not a little kid. You don't need to treat me like a little kid anymore. And there's a hilarious scene where he catches Ned breaking into the house. I thought that was always funny. But after Ned sort of gives Carson Drew his own little pep talk about, hey, Nancy's not a kid, you shouldn't treat her like one, Carson readily gives in and agrees to take Nancy more seriously. So I'd say overall he's a good dad. He did get a little overprotective in The Silent Spy, which makes sense. He doesn't want Nancy to die the same way, Nancy's mother died, but he still trusts her enough to make her own decisions. He also appears in Midnight in Salem, and he's an okay dad in that. Like, he picks up the phone, he says, hey, Nancy, how's my favorite daughter? And she's like, I'm your only daughter, Dad. And they sort of laugh at their old family joke. Also, there's the nice scene during the ending credits of The Silent Spy where Carson and Nancy talk with each other about Mom. That was also a really sweet scene, too. So all in all, I would say Carson Drew, thumbs up, he's a good dad. Big Island Mike from Creature of Kapu Cave. I'm not sure what to say about this one. He cares about his daughter, and he really likes her, and he also talks her up to the Hardy Boys, making it seem like she's the greatest person ever. But on the other hand, they do have this really big fight. Oh, yeah, and he's sort of lying to her and deceiving her. It's just not nice. That's not good either. And he sort of forces his daughter to join in on his criminal schemes. So, I'm gonna have to say bad dad on this one, because good fathers don't lead their daughters into lives of crime. If he wasn't around, would she have done all the various bad things in Creature of Kapu Cave? No, I think it was mostly him leading her down the path. We are told that he's the one who got into debt, not her. So, yeah, you could say the entire game is his fault. He doesn't really do a good job of parenting, and he forces her to basically run half of his business for him, which is not that good either. So, thumbs down for Big Island Mike. Ollie Randall from White Wolf of Icicle Creek. He's also a borderline dad, He's got some good stuff, like his daughter Freddie. He really cares about her. She wants to be out in the snow all day, and he's like, sure, fine, you love it, you can be out in the snow. However, I'm always struck by the line that he says, oh, I don't know how she stays warm outside. It's like, you don't know how your daughter's staying warm outside and you're letting her stay in the snow for hours at a time? Dude, she's like, what, 8 or 10? Come on! You've got to make sure your daughter doesn't freeze to death. At least make sure she wears a coat or something. That line always struck me as weird. It always made it seem like he doesn't care too much about her. On the other hand, at one point in the game, we see a list of lines. So Ollie punishes Freddie for throwing an ice ball through a window, and he makes her write, I won't throw ice balls, I won't throw ice balls, I won't throw ice balls, over and over and over again, like 500 times. So, that is responsible of him, being a responsible dad and stepping in and making sure things are okay when his daughter does something wrong. He makes sure that she has to make up for it. As one of the harder things about being a parent is having to punish your kids. That can be really tough sometimes because your kids get mad at you, but Ollie stays firm and he does what's right for her even if she doesn't like it. And I think that's about it for Ollie and his daughter Freddie. I don't think they really have any other real interactions throughout the rest of the game. Bruno Bolet from Legend of the Crystal Skull. So he's sort of like the other dads we met, like Daryl Trent and Ezra Wickford, in that he set up this complicated series of puzzles for his kid to solve after he died. He really wanted Henry to get the crystal skull, and he trusted Henry to be in charge of the entire house. Unfortunately, at the end of the game, we hear that, well, you know, he really cared about Henry, but he's just one of those people who couldn't say such things out loud, and he sort of let Henry think that he didn't matter. Henry definitely complains that he thinks Bruno didn't care about him. He thinks Bruno was always sending him away instead of spending time with him. So that's not good, but it's good that he actually does care about Henry. It's sad that he wasn't able to express it in a good way, besides creating weird, creepy eyeball puzzles and graveyard puzzles. That is kind of creepy and weird, but he did set up this puzzle. He wanted, you know, Henry to be happy. You know, if Henry got to Crystal Skull, obviously Henry would be set for life. He'd have no money problems, so that would be good as well. So I'm glad he wanted to take care of Henry. It does make me sad he wasn't able to express his feelings around Henry. So I kind of say half and half. I might say downwards. I might give him a thumbs down as a dad, simply because he kept it hidden instead of, you know, revealing it while he was still alive. Now, if we go back to Daryl Trent or Ezra Wickford, they definitely let their kids know that they loved them while they were still alive. But Bruno Bolet kind of kept it a secret, and that sort of makes me think it's not a good choice on his part. Franz Mittlemeyer from The Captive Curse. He's another absentee parent. We don't actually see him in the game. He's the head of security, and at one point he leaves a note for Lucas. You know, it's got a puzzle saying, hey, Lucas, here's how to get into the security booth to meet with me. But whenever you go to the security booth, he's not there. He's conveniently absent. And it sounds like he doesn't spend too much time with Lucas. He expects Carl and Anya to take care of Lucas, even though Lucas is a bit of a troublemaker and probably needs, you know, some extra care and attention. Dad's not there to give it to him. I know Lucas has a line about not being able to watch too much TV all day. He's got a lot of free time. So at least Franz has one rule to try to keep his son in check. But it sounds like he needs to spend more time with his son and then less time doing whatever it is he does. I'm not sure what he does all day. He's clearly not in the security booth. I don't know, maybe he's playing Raid with Carl whenever we're not around. I'm not sure. To be fair, there is a dangerous monster situation going on in this particular night, so it makes sense that the head of security is super busy that particular night. Maybe it's the case that he's a great dad and he takes care of Lucas pretty much all the time, except when there are monsters on the loose. At the end of the game, we're told that Lucas and his father moved to a new place, and Lucas seems pretty happy there, so his life can't be all that bad. So Franz, I don't know, I'm gonna give him like a sideways thumbs up. Now, Gunar from Sea of Darkness, I think he's a good dad, and that's because he has an epic dad joke. He carries this box of pictures around with him at all times so he can show them off and tell this crazy tale about him fighting an octopus and then punching a shark in the nose. And it's all leading up to a silly joke about how he got his fingers hurt. So that is an amazing level of dedication to a silly dad joke. So he's a good dad on that front. It's also kind of a tragic story because also in the box he's got a picture of his daughter and a birthday card she gave him, and it appears to be the last thing that he got from her before she died in a tragic accident, and he's not over it yet, so it still seems to be like a huge issue that's weighing on his mind, and that really affects his relationship with Nancy, because Nancy reminds him of his daughter, so we can kind of guess he treats Nancy sort of similar to the way he treated his daughter, which is jokes. He generally tells a lot of silly jokes, so you know, he seems like he'd be a big, happy, fun dad. It's just sad that his daughter is no longer alive. But I think if we saw him, you know, while his daughter was alive, he would be more fun than a barrel of monkeys. And the final dad in the Nancy Drew series, Judge Danforth from Midnight in Salem. And this is one of the ones that's hard to tell, because he's got a bad relationship with his kid, but it's hard to tell whose fault it is, because his son Jason is clearly keeping secrets from him, but on the other hand, he seems to be a bit too controlling. So, you know, he wants to know where Jason is at all times, and he says, "Jason, I forbid you from meeting May." So they're still in high school, right? So, I don't know. It's kind of indicated that Jason's a little older, though. I think he's out of high school. I could be wrong about that. But I'm not sure. I haven't gotten to the point in life where my daughters are dating sketchy guys named Jason yet, so I don't know how I would react if I thought my daughter had an inappropriate boyfriend. But it seems like the judge is going about it entirely the wrong way, and instead of like making a course correction, he just leans harder on the rules. And that's not the way to go. That's not the way to go. He also is kind of sarcastic in the scene where Jason and the judge sort of have a fight about money. He's like, "Come on, Dad, I'll take you to lunch." He's like, "Really? With what money?" It's like, "Dad, you gotta let it go, man." So, you know, the fact that Judge Danforth is kind of willing to trash his own son in front of a relative stranger, Nancy Drew, that's not a very good sign. On the other hand, Jason's badly in debt to some mysterious people, sort of like Big Island Mike. We're told he has this fantastic debt. We don't know what the debt is for, but it's crushing and it leads to illegal activities. So it's good that Judge Danforth actually cares about his son's financial situation, because it's really bad, but he's going about it in the wrong way. I really can't bring myself to dislike the judge. He's kind of a funny character. He seems more clueless than malicious, and that goes for everything else in the game too, about what happens with the Hathorn house and that storyline. He's just more confused and doesn't know what to do. So I would urge him to pick up a book on parenting, you know, maybe try spending more time with Jason. Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's tough to say who is the rotten egg in the relationship, because relationships go both ways. I mean, the parent has to try and the child has to try too. Now, it can be tough to be a parent when your child is being angry and closed off a lot, but you know, you always got to be there for your child and love them, even if they're making mistakes. Although, you know, going overseas and attacking Nancy is a little bit more than just an innocent mistake. That's definitely criminal activity. It does seem like at the end of the game that the judge is going to punish Jason for his crimes. And Nancy seems to think that the judge is just going to let Jason off because they're related. But no, I mean, he's a judge, so he's going to follow the law. So he is going to punish his son. I don't know. I was just saying that. I thought, wow, that sounds like the judge is going to punish his son and be really mean to him. And that's not quite what a good parent should do. But maybe it's, you know, the harsh step that Jason needs as a wake-up call so Jason could change his life around. I do feel like the judge hasn't given up on Jason, and he's probably going to keep visiting Jason and working with Jason in the future. So, those are my rankings of the Nancy Drew dads. I'd say, like, Carson Drew was really good. Daryl Trent, also pretty awesome. Gunar, great, great, great. I also want to give, like, an honorable mention to Matt Simmons from Haunting a Castle Malloy, because I'm sure his dad jokes would be epic. He would pull some epic pranks on his kids, if he ever has kids. As for the other end of the spectrum, so some of the worst dads, I guess Bruno Bolet, who's sort of an absentee parent, Judge Danforth, I'm not sure you'd consider him an absentee parent, but he doesn't seem to stop his child from doing bad things. Same with Hugh Pennvalen, he's just sort of out of the picture. And lastly, Big Island Mike, who forces his daughter to commit crimes. That's not good. That's not good parenting. So if you have any thoughts about the Nancy Drew dads, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget, Her Interactive is having a sale on the Nancy Drew games. So if you want to play one of these games with the dads, you can buy a game from their website, use the discount code JUNE2021. They'll get you 35% off your purchase until June 22nd. Okay, bye.